welcome back to the Kimberly Lovey podcast. I am your host, Kimberly Lovey. You guys, my mom turned 70. Okay, guys, how come nobody talks about throwing your parent a milestone birthday? I don't understand. I've never seen anything on Instagram about it. I haven't seen anything on Pinterest. Then again, I don't spend much time there. But look, a lot of our parents are hitting some big milestone birthdays. So I definitely want to celebrate her birthday right. So I'm going to give you all the lowdown, all the scoop on exactly how I did it. Let's dive in. Okay, guys, look, many of us have aging parents, and let's be honest, we want to make sure that they are feeling appreciated and loved and celebrated. I am going to share with you exactly what we did. So, first things first, I want to answer a question. No, I am not a professional party planner. I know so many of you keep hearing all of my episodes around parties. It's just our season. It's so weird because we have so many birthdays in June and July, and it's just the season in our family. So I'm definitely not a party planner. In fact, I've had so many bad parties I've thrown that I think that's why I'm trying to share all the knowledge that I've gained in the last couple go-arounds. Like anytime I've figured out how to throw something successfully, I want to share it because I don't know, I feel like nobody ever told me, and I wasn't born knowing how to do this. It just wasn't something I was trained on. So anyway, yeah, that's why I keep talking about party planning, but this should probably wrap it up for a while. And also, you guys know it wouldn't be a party in my family if there wasn't some kind of major drama that derailed the whole thing. So let's talk about that. Let's start with that. All right. So basically, my mom's birthday is 4 days before Charlotte's birthday. So she's June 28th, Charlotte is July 2nd, and I'm July 4th. Okay, so both my mom and Charlotte had big birthdays. My mom turned 70, and then 4 days later, it was Charlotte turning 5. Okay, so this year, because they were back to back, I was pretty overwhelmed. And also, for any of you guys out there with kids in school, you know that the scramble in June to wrap up the school year, you know, there was just a lot compressed, all the final things for school happening. Plus I was trying to party plan and get everything ready for camp. It just kind of all got squeezed into one really busy month. And so I was kind of frantically planning my mom's birthday party as well as Charlotte's, in addition to all the other normal things that happen around the end of the school year. So that's kind of setting the stage. I knew that my mom does not like to be the center of attention. She really is completely uncomfortable with that. But at the same time, she also, at the same time, she doesn't like surprises. So I had to be thoughtful about how I did this for her because I didn't want it to be overwhelming or stressful in any way. I really just wanted her to have an elegant evening that was not stressful, not way over the top, and, you know, didn't make her feel too uncomfortable. So I think that's something important in planning special birthday parties for your parents. You know, some people, like my father-in-law, would probably love like a big birthday bash. So on his 60th, we threw a huge party, and that totally fits his personality. But I think when you're planning a party for your parent, you really need to be thoughtful about who they are and what they like. Like, do they like surprises or they hate them? You know, and all that stuff. So all that to say, we were going to just I decided what I was going to do was, because my parents live so close to me, I thought it would be really nice if I could just host the party at my house, because that way it's not a long drive for them and it's just kind of easy. So not at their house, so their house didn't get messed up at our house, so that they could be guests. And I decided it would be so amazing if we got a private chef. So we've never had a private chef, and I had no idea if it was going to be like way out of range price-wise or even who to call. And I think it's like the kitchen door. So Chef Betty was amazing. Yes, it's the kitchen door, _kitchen_door on Instagram. So Chef Betty, she is incredible. She is farm to table. She can do any kind of food as far as gluten-free or vegan and all that stuff. We did have someone that is gluten-free, so this actually was fine for the most part for that person. But anyway, she is able to get the freshest fish off of the Santa Barbara coast. So the morning of our party, she was able to get us sea bass, which originally I was like, oh, I don't know if we really like sea bass, but because it was so fresh, I was like, okay, I trust her to pick the best fish that's in season. So anyway, we went with Chef Betty, and she was just so amazing. So basically, she helped me with so much of the party, but there was also kind of this huge wrench that happened. So basically what happened was we had the party planned, and then my mom unfortunately got COVID and was hospitalized for several days. And so 2 days before the party, she was being admitted to the ER, and we had no idea she had COVID. We had no clue. We thought she may have had like my dad's cough or something, and like nobody in our family had tested positive for COVID or anything. So anyway, she goes to the ER and they test her there, and sure enough, it's COVID. So then I was like, Dad, you have to get tested. You have to test, because my dad had like what he thought was like a cold, but he had chills, and he had taken an at-home test, but it was negative. But I don't think that the at-home test was accurate for when he did it too soon, I think. And I kept telling him, like, you should take another test now that you're not feeling well, like when he was really at the height of not feeling well. And he never ended up taking it. And then I also told my mom, like, hey, you should take a COVID test. And then she didn't end up taking it. So anyway, we were completely shocked she had COVID. Then my dad ends up taking a rapid test for the 15-minute one at urgent care, and it was negative. And he had already it was like a week or so after he had felt better. So then I'm like, Dad, you should take a PCR test because you should know if you had COVID. So he takes it. Do you know it showed up positive? Yes. So the PCR was the only way he finally figured out he had already had COVID, like recently. So anyway, my mom gets COVID. She's hospitalized. It's heartbreaking because she basically was in the hospital for her 70th birthday, which is so sad. And because she had COVID, they'd put her in an isolation room, so I couldn't even send her flowers. I actually had sent her flowers and then had to cancel them that morning because they wouldn't accept flowers or fresh fruit, like if you're in an isolation room. So it was just really heartbreaking, the whole experience. And on top of that, for our party, oh my gosh, it was a nightmare. So she went in on a Friday night to go see what was going on with her. And we thought, oh, she'll just be discharged or something. Like maybe she'll get a Z-Pack and she'll be discharged, or like she'll be sent home. And then they admitted her and found out she had COVID and all this stuff. So basically, when she was driving into urgent care, I called all the vendors and was like, my mom is going to the hospital. Like, she's sick. I don't know what's going on. Like, we need to cancel the party. And at first because the party was supposed to be on a Sunday night and this was a Friday night. And I was thinking, well, even if she gets sent home tonight, she's not going to feel well, even if it's just a cold. Like, we don't want to get everybody else sick. So I had to scramble, like, because part of me desperately wanted to just keep the party as is, like you have all these people and it's a whole to do. So anyway, thankfully I acted quickly. I followed my gut. That's another lesson learned. Follow your gut always. And so I called the vendors and I'm like, you guys, I'm so sorry. I don't know. Originally, I didn't even know when I called them that she had COVID. So I'm like, she is in the hospital. I don't know what's happening, but she's sick. We have to cancel this. And, so many of the vendors were just so amazing. Like, they were so understanding. I was obviously completely upset, and they were so nice and so it was just the feeling of that human to human, like, support again, and like a tough situation just really made me feel like, okay, all is not bad in the world. Like the fact that all these people these people have teams coming here and, busy schedules, and this is their business. And for me to cancel on them at the last minute is, extremely inconvenient. And so many of them were just so gracious about it and so helpful and kind. And I just want to thank all of them. We had a rental place, but every single vendor was just incredible. So super big thank you to all of them. So now here it is a month later. We finally got everything back on the calendar. We resent out the Evite. Everyone was able to make it except for one person, which was a bummer, but it is what it is. Okay, so let's dive into the actual party. Okay, so basically I decided we were going to do a dinner party for my mom, and it was going to be only family and a handful of friends. And when I say handful, I mean like 3 or 4, because I didn't want it to be overwhelming for my mom more than anything. And my mom has so many friends that it's just such a slippery slope, because if one of her friends gets invited and then like all the other ones hear about it, like obviously that would hurt their feelings, and we would never want to do that. So it was hard because I just needed to keep it really, really a tight, short guest list. She literally only had, she had 2 friends there. That was it. Okay. So basically it was 15 adults, 3 children. And then the baby, I had Becky come and watch the baby. So we basically had a party rental place come and bring Chiavari gold chairs and tables, fold out tables. And that typically isn't expensive, but when I had booked it, it was so close to the 4th of July weekend originally that I ended up paying a lot for that, but normally it's not. So, but I really needed the gold Chiavari chairs, because I have to say having the gold chairs really does make a big difference. And it just aesthetically completely changes the entire party. So we got 2 really long tables that would fit 18 people total. And then we also had the bistro lights hung up, remember? And so we had those hung up, and we had them for Charlotte's party as well. So we kept those up for basically the whole month of July. And that completely changed the way our backyard looked. So I definitely recommend doing the bistro lights, like really, really beautiful. All of a sudden you felt like you were in a restaurant instead of in your backyard. Okay. So then the place that I got the tables and chairs from, they also had beautiful ivory linens. So the whole thing was just like ivory and gold and just really elegant and simple. And then I had our local florist, Exo Bloom, who's also amazing. Sarah there's amazing. It's her company, her business. She just had us have she just made us a lot, like her team made us a long green garnish with white flowers. I forget the name of the flowers, but they were poisonous. So it was something that her team had to let me know about. So that was kind of interesting. And thankfully we don't have any pets since we lost our cat. We don't have a dog, and we just told the kids and it was okay. But it was just one long like row of leaves and white flowers in the center of the table all the way across. So the 2 tables were in one long row. And then we also got beautiful candles that were different heights that her team brought, and I lit the candles before our dinner started. She also brought clear chargers with like little gold beads around them. So really that was all of the decor as far as like our tablescape and our tables and chairs. Okay. Then I brought back Carlos, who he plays the guitar, and he was supposed to have a couple of the guys in his band come and join him, but because we had messed with the dates, he couldn't get his full band. So he was so kind. He was able to come just himself, which was perfect. And he's the nicest guy. I'm going to tag him here also. And he basically just played his guitar for the evening, and then he actually had a performance and had to leave a little bit early, which we had worked out between us, and it was perfectly fine. But just having the guitarist there like completely changes everything. Like I know you can just put on music, and that's also great, but having a live guitarist there, it's just there's something about it. It's just magical. So it really sets the mood as well. And then the last touch, or actually not the last touch, then the last, I'll say, decorative item we had was my mom's name sign in bright letters. So Joyce, we had it in white. You can have it in different colors. Like for Charlotte's birthday, we had the number 5, and it was in bright pink. For my mom, because I wanted it very elegant, sophisticated, classy, I had it in all her name in all white letters. Also, little tip, don't put, if you have an aging parent and you're going to do a party like this, don't put the number, because I asked my dad, should we put 70 for the lights, or should we put her name? And he's like, oh, put her name. No one wants to see their age. And I'm glad that I did that. And I also didn't, we call my mom Mimi, and we were going to put Mimi for the sign initially, and then I changed it to Joyce, because there's just something special about saying your name, you know? So I'm really glad that I decided that. And then that was pretty much it for the overall decor. Really, that was it. Okay, one fail as far as the setup was I didn't have the refills for our mosquito repellent, which I got on Amazon, these awesome mosquito repellent like cylinders, and I kind of sprinkled them throughout the entire backyard, and I did not get any bug bites for Charlotte's, like any mosquito bites for Charlotte's birthday, which was in the same exact place. And this time I didn't have them out because I didn't realize I had to refill them. And oh my gosh, you guys, I paid dearly. We actually passed out little mosquito repellent bands that you can wear around your ankle or your wrist, and I was wearing one, but I think mine was not fresh. I got 19 mosquito bites on my legs. Yes, 19. And they're huge and they are itchy and it's terrible. So I went on Amazon and got this like bug repellent sucker thing that is coming. It was on Shark Tank and I've heard about it from a couple of friends. So supposedly it helps with bee stings or bug bites and take out the itch and all that stuff. So I'll let you know if that works out, but I got eaten alive. So that was a major fail. So another tip is make sure you have your mosquito repellent fully ready to go if you're going to throw a party outside, especially in the summer and around dusk, because the party was 5:30 to 7:30, or sorry, 5:30 to 8:30. Okay, now the food and the drink. So we also got a nice professional bar. Again, it was a different bar this time. It was part of Chef Betty's recommendation. So this bar was a little bit different than what we had for Charlotte's birthday. This was a bar where you basically have a bartender only, and then you provide all the alcohol, and then they'll bring some mixers. So all they bring you is the bartender and the mixers, and you provide your wine, your hard alcohol, which was perfectly fine for us because we have all that stuff. And also this wasn't a huge drinking crowd anyway. It's a lot less expensive to do it the way we did it this time versus when we had Charlotte's birthday. I had a separate bartending company because we didn't have like a chef or anything like that at that party. So yeah. So anyway, just kind of different ways to do it basically. So then Chef Betty comes and she had a sous chef and 2 additional servers with her. And it was just amazing. So Exo Bloom came, first it was the party rental place. Exo Bloom came, set up the table, and then Chef Betty's team came in kind of at the end, and they did the most amazing menu. And so they come in and they use your pots and pans. Someone was asking me that, like, do they use all your pots and pans? Yes, they do. They also bring a lot of their own supplies that they're gonna need, but they use your oven and they use your stove, they use your sink. So they basically take over your kitchen, which is fine with me because let me tell you, I am so thrilled I did not have to be in my kitchen and doing the cooking for once. It was weird to have other people taking over my kitchen, but I was very happy that they were able to do it. So yes, they showed up and they brought the sea bass and they brought all the rest of the food. I'll tell you what our menu was. Are you ready? Okay, our menu was, for the appetizer, it was Mission Bruschetta. So plum tomato, sweet pepper, shallot, cilantro, lime, ciabatta herb toast. And it also, part of the appetizer was also this royal fondue. So 5 artisan cheeses, warm and creamy with roasted vegetable, cruciferous pear salad, wild baby arugula, candied pecans, and Danish blue cheese on the side. So basically we had the bruschetta and the fondue and veggies in advance, and so that was kind of separate. And then when it was time to be seated, we sat down and all enjoyed our salad. So our salad was separate. The wild baby arugula, candied pecans, Danish blue cheese. Yeah. Okay, so we didn't have our menu printed. So about an hour before the party, Brian and I printed out the menu. Now, keep in mind, I did realize this earlier, like the day before. I realized, oh wait, we should print out the menus. And so that's something I'd never done before. So I just went to Michael's and I got basic cardstock that was a different size than a 11 by 8.5. And the size was, I want to say it was like 5.5 by 7.5 cardstock, just cream colored. And then the chef sent me the menu on a Google Docs and I could edit it accordingly. So it fit onto the cardstock, and then I fed it into my printer. And Brian came in because I was kind of having trouble with like getting the right paper settings and all this stuff. So like an hour before the party, he came in and he added this really pretty border around because he like does menus for their restaurant. So he knows how to do all this stuff. So anyway, he came, he added a border, and he helped me with the page settings. It really wasn't hard, actually, though. Like, it sounds worse than it really was. But basically, yeah, so we printed out the menus, and then we put those next to the napkins and on the chargers and everything. It looked so professional and amazing. Okay, so back to the main course. It was a baked sea bass veracruzana, sun-dried tomato, capers, Spanish olives, shallot and sweet pepper, pan-fried Maui onion, wild rice, pan-blistered Blue Lake beans. Basically, in short, what that means was it was sea bass caught literally fresh that morning, which sea bass can be very oily and kind of fishy, and this had none of those qualities. So it was sea bass, and then she put Spanish olives and all those other fancy things on it, and wild rice was on the side with beans. It was so incredible. It was incredible. I normally don't even eat rice, and it was so good. Like the sea bass and the wild rice was so amazing. Okay, and for dessert, it was a flourless chocolate souffle, and it says bittersweet ganache, fresh raspberries. And then for the kids, I knew the kids, my picky eaters, they were definitely not going to eat any of those things. And so the kids' meal, it was basically butter and Parmesan pasta and a fruit cup, and then an oatmeal cookie. And they knew to serve the kids kind of like up front. So as soon as the appetizers were put out, the kids' meal was served. So they actually had already eaten by the time we sat down to eat, but they still had places at the table with us, and they joined us for dessert as well. So yeah, that was basically it. So after our cocktail hour and our appetizers, and we all sat down and I lit the candles and all of that, we all enjoyed the meal and then had our dessert. And kind of in between the main course and dessert, we did some speeches. And it was so funny because I had put together, I originally was like, okay, she's turning 70. So I did 7 things about Mrs. Goldstein, like 7, notable things about Mrs. Goldstein. And then I thought of more. And so I'm like, okay, I'll make it 8 things, like 1 for good luck. Well, by the time I was done with my list, as I was like curating the speech, it ended up being like 13 items. So I told the people up front, I told all the guests, I was like, okay, just so you know, I started it off this way, but it ended up being like 13 things. So sorry about that. And I just kind of like read through them. And some of them were funny, and some of them were just more like traits about my mom and, notable traits about her. Like, she's not materialistic. She's the hardest worker. She's the best travel companion. And I kind of went into some detail for each of them, but it was like brief. Like, the whole thing was probably all of 1 to 2 minutes. It was not at all, lengthy and boring. I hope not. People were chuckling, and of course my son comes like halfway dressed in his pajamas and interrupts the whole thing. Like, it was ridiculous. Now, one thing, I did give my sister a zinger. My sister, who's 36 weeks pregnant today, by the way, with baby number 2, I gave her a zinger because then I was done, and I was like, okay, Jen, your turn for your pre-planned speech. And everyone's chuckling because she didn't like plan anything, because like it just sort of happened. And then my dad said something nice. So that was really, really nice. And then my mom got up there and talked about the importance of decades and how your life kind of, you can look at them in decades. And as you move away from one decade and you move into the next, it's always a good time of reflection and kind of taking an inventory of how you've done or where you want to be. And I just thought it was a really nice sentiment. So she had a really kind of wisdom-filled speech, and that was really nice. And that was pretty much the night. It was really quite incredible. It was low key. We took a group picture or multiple group pictures in front of the name sign. And again, my mom just felt really at ease. She got dressed up. Everybody was in cocktail attire. Like, we weren't going to a gala or anything, so it wasn't over the top. I wore a really cute blue dress. It was short. The mosquitoes loved that. And, it was just elegant. It was classy, it was elegant, and it was a fantastic birthday. My parents kept saying they felt like they were in a winery in Tuscany. They just, the bartender came around when we were seated and filled up our cups, and, it was just fun. It was fun. It was relaxed. It was amazing. I did not get a professional photographer, and that was okay. And I did film my mom walking into the party. And of course she was like overwhelmed with she was just so excited, and not overwhelmed, but she was just like surprised at what we had done. So yeah, that's basically a really quick, easy way to transform your backyard into almost like a restaurant or feeling like you're somewhere else. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely an investment, but again, this was not like 150 people, this party at all. And, you know, everything was pretty much, I don't know, I'd say very reasonable overall. So if you have any more questions on that, I'm going to tag everyone. I'll do a reel on my Instagram and give everyone credit. But thank you again so much to all the vendors that pulled this off. My mom had the best birthday. She truly was just so happy. And I do recommend hosting a party like this if your parents have a big milestone birthday that you want to celebrate, or anybody else special in your family. This was a great way to celebrate. So with that, I am done podcasting about parties for a while, guys. And coming up on the next, or in a couple episodes probably, I have a plus size model that we're going to talk about her career, how she got into it, and body positivity, which is a huge topic, something I think is really important. So look for that coming up. With that, thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, that is it for today. Now, as you know, some of our best conversations actually happen after the show. So I want you to find me on Instagram at Kimberly Lovey and let me know your thoughts about today's show. You can screenshot this episode and let us know what your biggest takeaway was and tag me at Kimberly Lovey and we can share it on our stories. I will see you again, same time, same place next week.